You're listening to the only podcast for Texas AirHogs and American Association Baseball. This is Hog Heaven with your host, Tim Costello, and co-host, Zachary Lee. Welcome into Hog Heaven here on your AirHogs Broadcast Network. Take it away, Tim.
Welcome into another edition of Hog Heaven. Hi, I am Tim Costello. He is Zachary Lee, and we are live at AirHogs Stadium getting set to continue our off-season edition of Hog Heaven. Zach, welcome in.
Tim, thanks for having me. Really excited to keep this ship rolling here in the off-season, and hey, every day is an exciting day when you get to be in Hog Heaven, Tim.
It certainly is, and Zach, we're looking to continue the show, yes, but obviously we can't just focus on AirHogs baseball now that we're in the off-season. So one of the things we're really looking to do now is focus on some of the local student athletes here in the South DFW area.
Yeah, we've been trying to have a bigger community outreach here in the Grand Prairie area. Been looking at, well, we're a sports talk show. What else do we have here? Well, high school sports are going pretty strong right now. You had a chance to get to know one of the local high school athletes a little bit better, Tim.
I did. I got a chance to talk to Taleah Washington as she is getting set to head to California to play Pebble Beach in a really cool First Tee sponsored event. She's going to have an opportunity to tee it up with the PGA Champions Tour, which is the senior tour. I believe it's 73 members of the First Tee across the country are getting this opportunity. She is one of 10 members of the Texas First Tee that are getting a chance to go play in this big tournament. And she's a darn good golfer, too. This is not just about what she does on the First Tee. I mean, you look at her online recruiting profile, her average score is 73.5, which is just 1.5 strokes above par.
No, it's incredible. Very exciting here for the young lady. Exciting just for us to get the chance to sit down and talk to her. Like we mentioned, just trying to have a greater outreach here in the community. And Taleah was a great interview, and I know you enjoyed your time speaking with her.
I really did. She was – the best thing about it, Zach, is when you talk to kids, a lot of the times, they have their head screwed on, right?
Yeah.
She knows she's going to go play college golf somewhere, but her thought process of getting in the right situation, making the right choice for herself is 100% spot on. So we're going to go to our interview with Taleah Washington. Again, she is heading to Pebble Beach this week to compete in a tournament with the PGA Champions Tour. This is Taleah Washington and I's conversation from just a bit earlier this week.
Welcome back into Hog Heaven. Tim Costello joined with one of Grand Prairie's local junior golfers, Taleah Washington. Taleah, appreciate you coming on the show with us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Looks like next week you're headed to play one of the best courses in America, Pebble Beach. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got there and what you'll be doing out in California?
Sure. I'm part of the First Tee of Fort Worth. It's a youth organization that tries to implement core values through the game of golf. Once you get about to the high school level or to a certain certification in the First Tee, you'll be able to apply for some summer opportunities and some opportunities that are ran in the fall. I feel that I did an application for the Pebble Beach event, and I was accepted. It was a long process. You have to do a lot of essays, a lot of community service and activities chart, just a lot of things building that are on your resume. I got selected in July, I believe. It was announced on national television on the morning drive on the Golf Channel. It's about 6 in the morning. My mom just busted in my room and screaming, like, "Oh my God, you made it!" I'm still half asleep. Mom just woke me up. I'm mad, but I'm happy at the same time. So yeah, this week, actually I leave on Monday to head out there to Pebble Beach, and then I start my rounds on Friday, but my practice rounds are starting, I believe, on Tuesday. So it's a 3-day event. The first 2 days are the regular tournament days, and if I make the cut, then I'll be playing on the last day, which is Sunday, which will be played at Pebble Beach.
That sounds absolutely phenomenal. I can't believe you're getting such an amazing opportunity.
Yep, I'm excited. I'm ready to leave.
So when I was a high school golfer myself. When I was growing up, the First Tee was really just getting started in Houston. It was really just a place for kids who are interested in golf to be able to go learn and play and not have to pay that $50 greens fee for a 10-year-old to learn to play golf. How has it changed in the time that you've been a member of the First Tee?
Well, I got into the First Tee program about 5 years ago. I believe I was maybe going into the 8th grade when I joined into the First Tee. I didn't get too serious about golf until the second semester of my freshman year, which is when I started playing competitive golf. The First Tee, they take care of any expenses if you don't have the resources to pay for the programming for your session. They'll take care of it. They'll get you some clubs and everything, all expenses paid for. It's really a big help to the community, and it's impacted me a lot.
What made you want to go try golf in the first place, even before it was a competitive option, just something to go relax and play around with?
Well, growing up, all I played was basketball. I kind of jumped on volleyball going into my 7th grade year. I'm a senior now, but I was in 7th grade, and my mom had a brand new pink set of Top Flight clubs sitting in the garage. She was intending on using them to go play golf with her buddy. That never happened. So as a curious 12 or 13-year-old, I'm like, hey, Mom, what are those sticks doing in the garage? And she's like, well, those are golf clubs. And I'm like, well, what are you going to do with them? She's like, well, if you find something to do with them, you can have them. So we did a little researching, and then we stumbled up on the First Tee. I started off at the First Tee of Greater Dallas, which was at the time held at Cedar Crest Golf Course. Then later, as that course shut down for renovations, I moved to the First Tee. I believe it's still Greater Dallas, but it was at Prairie Lakes Golf Course. Okay. And then that wasn't working out, so I was recommended by a friend to go to the Fort Worth chapter, and I've been at the Fort Worth chapter for a couple years now, and it's my favorite.
That's phenomenal. I was getting a chance to look at your recruiting profile online. You really have a really wonderful golf swing. What kind of time are you putting in on a weekly basis to make sure that your swing is up to shape?
I mean, I spend about 4 to 5 hours a day on the golf course, even after school. I'd say I spend about 35, maybe 40 hours a week on the golf course, whether it's just practicing or playing, anything I can do in any spare time I have, balancing out school, work, and golf. I try to squeeze it in whenever I can. I take time out for it and everything.
That's absolutely phenomenal. I also noticed your average score said it was 74.5. That's unbelievably good. Are you looking to play college golf?
Of course. I'm looking to play collegiate golf. I've been communicating with a handful of schools. I'm still undecided yet. Haven't decided on where I want to go. It's a tough decision, and it's a very tough process, trying to see if I want to stay here in Texas. Do I want to leave Texas? Do I want to go to a small school, a big school? I have no idea. I'm doing my research still.
Well, I'm sure we can help put you in touch with some people who have been through that process as well, if that's something you ever need. The podcast here looks to always help our local athletes.
I'll definitely be reaching out to y'all for any help, any advice that I need.
Absolutely. So one of the things I noticed when I was wrapping up my high school golf career, I was looking forward to be able to ride in the golf cart again, as opposed to carrying my bag. Is that something that you think about, or do you enjoy walking the course?
I enjoy walking the course. Of course, it gets kind of tiring, especially when you're playing on a course that's not so flat and very hilly. The hills definitely make me tired, but I actually enjoy walking the course because I can get a better feel and sight of the actual course instead of just driving. You're just passing by everything. You're kind of missing the beauty of a course.
That's a great point. I sometimes forget to think about that, but you're absolutely right. When it comes to staying focused mentally on the course, Growing up, I was always told golf is 80% mental, 20% physical. What do you do while you're out there to make sure that you're sharp for 18 holes?
Well, I do a lot of actually listening to podcasts, working on my mental game. There at the first tee, there are mental coaches. One of them is Coach Todd. He does a lot helping with the mental game. From experience, I've just learned that you can't get upset at everything. Your body's not a machine. You're not always going to be hitting the perfect shots. Every single time you swing, you're going to have a different outcome. So I just learned to accept that and just play my game the best that I can, and whatever happens. And if it's not a good outcome, then that just means that I need to go back on the course after my round and work on something.
That's the perfect mindset, realistically, and one of the things that can help you with those non-perfect outcomes is the short game, right? Saving strokes around the green. What do you do when you're practicing? What kind of short game drills are you working on that you would recommend to some other high school golfers out there?
Personally, I do a lot of working with my sand wedge and my gap wedge. Those are like my two main clubs in my bag. I'm a very long player. I can drive the ball like nearly 270 yards. That's beyond average for a female golfer. So by the time I'm getting up there, I only have about 130, 140 yards out. And I work a lot with my wedges because that's mainly what I use. I barely ever use my higher up clubs like my 5, my 6, and my 7 iron. But I just work on my shots coming in from the green. I set like 20 balls for each 10 yards out. Like if I'm 100 yards out, and then I'll put 20 balls there, 90 yards out, 20 balls there, and so on and so on. And then putting drills, I do a lot of alignment drills. That's one of my biggest problems with my putting is alignment. So I put my alignment sticks down and just try to make sure I'm staying in between those two sticks and keep practicing from there.
It's crazy with all the changes in technology that the game has. You're still doing the same drills that really have been taught for 50 or 60 years now.
Yep, I have actually a lot of gadgets for swing mechanics and the putting stroke and everything, but my favorites are always the older methods. They always work the best.
Absolutely. For me, when I was growing up, I was a Tiger Woods guy. I could not miss any tournament Tiger was playing in, especially if he had a lead on Sunday. I wasn't going anywhere. I was watching Tiger. Who do you find yourself drawn to when you're watching a golf tournament? Who are some of your favorite players out there to watch go about dissecting a course?
Of course, I'm going to say Tiger. But I really focus on – I don't really think about Tiger's swing as much. I try to focus on how is he staying focused and what is he thinking about while he's on the course. I know he's had a rough couple of years with his health and everything that's going on in the media. What is he doing to stay focused and not think about any of that? How is he persevering through all of this and still being able to perform well? I also, of course, am a fan of Jordan Spieth. He's a Dallas guy. I'm from Dallas as well. But my absolute favorite golfer to watch is Michelle Wie. I just love her course swag. She's awesome. Even through her injuries, she still tries to push through. And even, I think a couple months ago, she was in an event that she had to withdraw from. But I really love that she tried to play the tournament, even though she knew there was a 50-50 chance that she was going to get hurt. She wasn't fully recovered. So I just like that she tried instead of just saying, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to get hurt. I'm not going to do it. I really love that she tried.
You're absolutely right on that one. And for me, I still remember the U.S. Open that Tiger Woods won basically on one leg because he was playing hurt the entire tournament. Is there a performance for you that you think about sometimes as, wow, that was the greatest round I've ever seen on TV or anything like that?
Well, Personally, I don't spend much time watching too much golf on TV. I watch highlight clips on my phone a lot, but I don't mean to sound cliche or anything, but my favorite was watching Tiger at the Masters this year. I really focused on, wow, this guy came back from a lot and he still won. That was my main, like, it was so shocking to me. Like, I couldn't believe it.
It was phenomenal to see him to get that one more green jacket. I couldn't agree with you more on that one. I enjoyed every round he put out there. I'll get you out of here on this one. Golf is a sport that has had some great movies made about the game. I think it's right up there with baseball as far as sports movies go with the quality of golf movies that have been put out. Do you have a favorite golf movie you like to put on and watch when you're relaxing?
I can't say I have a favorite. I don't really have a favorite. I like the, what's it called? I like 7 Days in Utopia. I've actually read the book and watched the film on that. I like the background story about that.
There you go. I personally am a big Caddyshack guy. I also love the movie Tin Cup as well.
Yeah. I've seen small clips of that one, but haven't really watched it.
Oh, I cannot recommend it enough, especially if you're focusing on the mental game. He basically shows you how not to do it.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate your time, and we hope we get to see you playing a Sunday round out at Pebble Beach next week.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. We hope to have you back on again after you go win that tournament.
I will. Thank you.
All right. Have a great day. Thank you so much, Taleah.
You too. Thank you.
Welcome back in on Hog Heaven. That was Taleah Washington joining us on the Hogcast as we learn a little bit more about the tournament she's heading to play in this week at Pebble Beach.
Yeah, it was a great little conversation there you had with Taleah, and she mentioned being a member of the First Tee organization here in Fort Worth. I know, having spoken with you in the past before, Tim, you also were a member of First Tee, so I was curious, after having spoken with her, if there was really any differences you noticed between what First Tee was doing when you were a member versus what they are now trying to get accomplished here with Taleah.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was learning to play golf as a child, the First Tee was really getting started, and at that point it was a free course. Golf is not cheap, and for junior golfers, it's hard to justify sometimes as a parent spending $40 or $45 a weekend for your kid to go out and play golf. So what the First Tee was at that time, it was courses that either were First Tee only, which I had a couple of in Houston, but also partnerships with other courses that allowed you to go out and play rounds of golf for free as a junior golfer. But it seems now that it's really continuing to grow. Now it supplies resources and other things, lessons, things like that for some of those junior golfers looking to play college golf. And it's great to see that the program is alive, well, and even continuing to grow.
No, definitely, and it's awesome just to see it giving opportunities to some of the local kids here, like Taleah, able to move on to California, out to Pebble Beach, and have a chance to play in a tournament with some professionals and really get her name out there.
And I did, like I said in the interview, if Taleah ends up winning this thing, she does owe us one more interview here on the Hogcast.
So got to get back and get some of the results.
Yeah, absolutely. So we appreciate again Taleah for coming on, joining us. We wish her the best of luck out at Pebble Beach this week. Zach, let's turn the focus a little bit now towards the AirHogs once again. With the season coming to an end now, a lot of those trades the AirHogs made for PTNBL, player to be named later, those players are being named now.
Yeah, those names have come up and surfaced here for the AirHogs. Like you said, a couple interesting things to touch on with that. There's a couple players that we were probably had a little inside information on where
we had an inkling
of who it was going to be, but now we've got some certainties on those. Tim, you want to go ahead and break the news there?
Yeah, absolutely. So the AirHogs, from the trade of Stuart Imes to Kansas City very late in the season, they're going to get Eric Manoah back again next year. That's huge. You get the rights to Eric Manoah for 2020. You got your
arguably your ace.
Yeah, you've got, if not your opening day starter, your number two theoretically. Then you get back Christian Correa, and this is a guy, Zach, I'm very high on. I know the average 249 is not great, but for a catcher, That's darn good. He had 4 homers on the season, 3 of which I believe came against the AirHogs.
Yes,
so you know he can hit here in AirHog Stadium. He's got some power from the right side. And then let's not forget what he does behind the plate.
He calls a good game, and he's
Kansas City had a great staff last year, and he was a big reason why.
No, he was a big reason why, and boy, not to knock on the AirHogs catchers this year, but if you could get 249 from your catcher versus what the AirHogs had a year ago, you'll take it any day and run with it.
Yeah, that's at least a 100-point bump, I feel like, from the catcher's average position this year for the AirHogs.
As a whole.
Yeah.
Granted, down the line, down the run, the last month and a half of the season, Stephen Javier was hitting a lot differently than he was the whole year long, but boy, that slump from the beginning to the middle part of the season was hard to get through at times.
Absolutely. And then let's look at one of the other trades the AirHogs made this year. They sent Jonathan Maroney as well as Kevin Hilton to Winnipeg, and there were 2 players to be named later there. The AirHogs are getting back a starter and a reliever. The starter is the righty Parker French. Parker didn't have an exceptional year, but he was an innings eater essentially. A 6-6 record, 5.32 ERA, 108 innings of work. He made 18 starts for the Gold Eyes. And then on the other side of things, Mitchell Akers is a bullpen arm who had a pretty good year. 2-2 with a 4.50. Came out of that pen 33 times for Winnipeg.
Oh, like you said, Parker French is going to be a big innings eater here for this AirHogs team, something that really they're looking for from that starting position. The AirHogs losing Kevin Hilton, that was their innings eater. That was the guy who was going to get you the innings you needed from the starting position. Parker French's 108 innings is more than any AirHogs starter on the season.
That ended the year
on the roster. Granted, when Kevin Hilton left, he did have more than 108 innings.
He had 122 when he left.
Yeah, and ended up with, I think, 133.
145, I think, was the final total for Hilton.
But he was in the top 5 in innings pitched. I mean, he was, by definition, an innings eater. But I think the addition of Parker French is a big one. And like you mentioned, Mitchell Aker, just another bullpen arm for a bullpen that's kind of hurting, mostly because a guy is doing so well they got called up or moved up to better leagues like Matzik, and Eibner moving up to the Atlantic League with the Sugar Land Skeeters. So
it feels to be
some shoes to fill.
It seems to me realistically when you look back on the season, Zach, even when the AirHogs had their best bullpen setup, it was 6, 7, 8, 9 were taken care of, right? Mm-hmm. You had Pete Perez, you had Contreras, Eibner, and Matzik. Those middle innings, if you had to go to your bullpen in the 4th or the 5th, that's where the AirHogs struggled. So theoretically, if you can get Pete Perez back, if you can get Contreras back, and if you can get Eibner back, obviously we're probably not going to get Matzik back. He's the property of a affiliated organization. But if you can get Eibner back, I'm not sure the details of that trade that Billy worked out. But either way, you get Contreras, Eibner, a guy like Mitchell Aker, you get Pete Perez. That's the start of a strong bullpen right there.
Definitely, and we saw down the stretch what a strong bullpen can mean. One of the biggest reasons the AirHogs went on that big winning stretch was the strength of that bullpen later on in the season. I kind of like seeing here in the offseason that's remaining a priority for this team is just bulking up that bullpen moving forward.
There are so many teams in Major League Baseball nowadays that put more attention on the bullpen and the starting pitchers because they appear more times, right? You look at Mitchell Aker, he appeared in 33 ball games. That's a third of your games. He's going to affect the outcome one out of every basically once a series. A guy like that can affect the outcome.
Not to mention they're pitching in the higher pressure situations. They're pitching at the end of games when things are decided. So, I mean, your starter can do a lot to make sure that you're still in the game up until that point, but your relievers ultimately help you decide in a lot of ways whether or not you're going to win or lose the game. And so I can understand that mentality of bullpen over rotation.
Let's take a quick break right here, Zach. When we come back on the other side, the top 10 independent ballparks in independent baseball were released. There's 3 American Association ones. We'll see if you have an idea of which ones those are. Also, another former American Association player was called up to the Tampa Bay Rays via the Mexican League this week. We'll talk about that as well on the Hogcast as we continue to roll on in Hog Heaven. We'll be right back with you after this.
Hey AirHogs fans, it's your GM Nate Gutierrez inviting you to join us for all 50 home games, including the playoffs, when you purchase your season pass for the great price of $150. Visit us at AirHogs Stadium for affordable family fun all summer long starting in May of 2020.
Welcome back in here on Hog Heaven. Tim Costello with Zachary Lee. Zach, the top 10 ballparks in independent baseball were released, and I agree with some, I disagree with others, but at the end of the day, this one, not exactly my list. We'll go over it, though. This one's from Ballpark Traveler, is the name of this article. Well, the three that were mentioned, the Chicago Dogs came in at number 10, Impact Field. Number 7 was Shaw Park, home of the Winnipeg Goldeyes. And number 1 on the whole list was the St. Paul Saints CHS Field. Zach, I agree with some of those.
I was just saying, I know one of the teams you'd put on that list that isn't there. Well, besides the AirHogs.
Lincoln.
Yeah.
The ballpark at Lincoln's great, but I can definitely see why it's not a top 10 ballpark. According to Baseball Digest, the AirHogs are number 13. Now, that's something I wanted to bring up.
Just outside.
They're
actually one ahead of Haymarket Park.
Yeah, so this list was just the top 10, the one that I saw. A little bit different than the one you're looking at.
Yeah, it's got a...
But still had a lot of the same points on it. I think the AirHogs are top 15, realistically, and this list shows it here. When you look at our ballpark, some of the amenities that we have out here, the kids area in right field, the swimming pool in right center, the Toyota Terrace, the sports bar, the suites that we have here. I think we were not getting the fair shake on that first list. It's good to see on the baseball.
Agreed.
On the Ballpark Digest list, the AirHogs are top 15.
Yeah, it's a little bit more expansive than the one you were looking at, but I think it's really interesting that in the list that you found, 30% of them were American Association ballparks. It's a kind of nice little moniker there for the league here.
It really is, and when I sit back, and the only one on this list I didn't get a chance to visit was Winnipeg, so I can't speak on them, but looking at video, when you watch the stream, it looked like a gorgeous ballpark, especially some of the photographs that Michael Ma took for us while he was up there. It looked first class, but Chicago is a beautiful ballpark. St. Paul's ballpark is unbelievable. You would never believe this is the list I was looking at here on Stadium Journey. You would never believe that St. Paul's ballpark is an independent stadium. Realistically, it's gorgeous. There's so much to do up there.
I've seen pictures of it as well. It really is. I mean, it's top class in terms of what you're looking for in a minor league stadium. Justin Terry, our assistant general manager, had a lot of the same things to say after going to the American Association All-Star game there, and boy, the pictures he took and showed, it is a beautiful park out there.
They do a nice job. They take care of the fans, and they do some fun promos up in St. Paul. Let's look now at Olympic baseball, Zachary, because this is something here in Grand Prairie we've paid a lot of attention to all year because we work with an Olympic team.
Agreed.
But some of these other teams in our league had Olympic players intermixed here throughout, and now they're starting to show up in this qualifying process. Most recently, Israel has qualified for the Olympics. It's a 6-team field.
Yeah.
And Israel is one of the best 6 teams right now in the world at baseball. Simply unbelievable. And then when you look at that Israel team, there's some serious American Association representation. 4 American Association players are on the Israel team with DJ Sharabi. Blake Galen, who was with Wichita, is now a AAA ball player in affiliated ball, but a former American Association guy.
Yeah.
Joey Wagman was with Milwaukee, and Mitch Glasser was with the Sioux Falls Canaries. He's a longtime American Association guy. He was a player-coach with the Canaries.
Yep.
Then in general, if you look at just across the world, the Netherlands was a team that Israel beat to qualify. They have Kurt Smith from Lincoln, and then Italy was hosting that qualifier. They have Christian Colabello from the Kansas City T-Bones.
Another team that Israel beat to qualify.
And then Spain had Carlos Sierra from the Sioux City Explorers. So I don't think a lot of people will realize maybe necessarily how much international representation our league will have in the Olympics in 2020.
No, definitely. And, I mean, like you mentioned, there's a lot of representation in this league. I think it really showcases some of the talent that's in this league that I don't necessarily think gets the credit that they're probably due. These are professional athletes, and a lot of them are getting the opportunity to represent their own country in the Olympics. And I think that's a really, really cool thing and something that isn't really focused on very much. Not many people know.
Even the newest AirHogs catcher, Christian Correa, he represented Colombia in a qualifier this year. They didn't get to the next round, but he also left to go play for his country. So there's a lot of those guys in this league. The Olympics are going to showcase a lot of talent. And one of the things, if China qualifies, there will now be a whole lot of American Association talent in that league.
Technically 30 of them right there that were down here in Texas. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Joey Wong still plays for
Joey Wong was on the World Baseball Classic for Team China. I'm not sure that the whole reason they're sending them down here is so guys like Joey Wong don't have to play.
Come out. Okay.
But that being said, the guy's phenomenal defensively. Don't know if he's better than Yang Jin, though.
Oh, no. I mean,
if you're picking, because both guys have about the same batting average, Yang Jin might have had a little bit higher batting average, and I think he might be a little bit better defensively than Joey Wong.
I think you got a good case there. It really probably just comes down to one man's opinion up there at the top, but
the man that matters is the manager of Team
China.
Yeah, the
manager of Team China, but no. I mean, Yang Jin has a really good case to beat out Joey Wong. Nothing against Joey Wong. It's just Yang Jin is that good.
He really is. Let's take a quick look. Johnny Davis from Kansas City in 2018 makes his big league debut with Tampa Bay. He's brought up to be a speedster in the wild card game. A lot of times you get that extra roster spot because you're making a roster just for the wild card game. You don't have to carry You don't have to carry more than 2 starting pitchers realistically. So a team like Tampa Bay has a spot for a speedster, and it's going to be Johnny Davis. He can really fly. He had his contract picked up from the Mexican League. I was reading an article about this guy. It was really an interesting process of him getting to the major leagues because he was just traded from one Mexican team to another. So the Mexican team that had him was really wanting to make sure, is this guy going to be just organizational filler, or you really want to bring him up to the big leagues? Because if you want to bring him up, we'll part with him. If you're just wanting to stick this guy in AAA for the last few weeks of the season, we still need him. And Tampa Bay was able to convince this team, yes, we really do want to use him. He's going to be a big part of our playoff roster. They let him go, and now he's in the big leagues. It's really pretty cool.
No, it really is. It's cool to see. Just to see guys here in the American Association making their way back. I mean, it's why we do what we do here in this league. It's why there's so many people dedicated to keeping these teams running, just to give these guys another opportunity. And, no one ever wants to admit they're wrong as an MLB scout, but, boy, if they weren't wrong, a league like this wouldn't exist.
Absolutely. Last one. We'll get you out of here on this, Zachary. Last year, Jose Sermo had 22 homers, 23 doubles, and 24 stolen bases, a 20-20-20 season. Unbelievable. Yeah. This year, Keon Barnum hits 31 homers and breaks the league record. So 2 insane seasons in a row.
Definitely.
Do you have a prediction for next year? Who do you think will do something crazy?
Boy, I guess if I had to pick, I'd look at the RBI number. I wouldn't be surprised to see, especially the way Chase Simpson played this year.
You think 100 is the number?
Really close. I think someone's going to hit 100 RBI next season. They're going to average an RBI a game. Chase Simpson was incredibly close to doing it this season. I know whenever we were in Cleburne, there were like 9 games left, and he had like 92 or something. I'm not sure where he ended. I can check that out real quick, but yeah, I'd be looking to see, especially if Chase Simpson makes his way back, to see if that RBI total can't be beaten out.
I think that's an excellent one. I think the RBI number, I think that's really something to look at. He ended with 93.
So close.
And I think RBI is one that's going to go down. I do think you're going to I think we're going to see 30 doubles next year. I think we're going to see some of these new ballparks have some big alleys out there.
They do.
And I don't think, what if 10 triples? I think we could see 10 triples in a season as well. If you had a guy with some pop to left center here, you could run for days.
This park is made for triples.
Yeah.
The AirHogs Stadium is made for triples. I mean, to be honest, it's why Jonathan Maroney, when he was here, was top 2 in triples in the league, because, I mean, you just knock one out there to the gap to the Biz TV sign. If you have any kind of speed, you're getting to third base. But, no, I look at that, and there's a lot of guys that can run in this league.
I wonder if that stolen base record could go down.
I'm not sure if it will, because I know the AirHogs have a player that holds the record. I don't remember his name, Rendon. I'd have to ask Billy Martin because it was the year he was the manager. He's got the little plaque up in his room. 60 stolen bases in a season. That's a pretty hard number to get.
That's a lot, but I don't know if that's going to be broken. Only because
so many
analytics. If you are an analytically focused ball club, analytics show you that a lot of times stealing bases isn't worth the risk, right? Yeah. You look at some of the best teams in the league, they don't lead the league in stolen bases. A lot of times it's the worst teams in the league who just swipe a lot of bags.
Because you're playing small ball to make up for other shortcomings.
If you have a powerful team, you're not going to risk turning a 2-run homer into a solo shot because the guy got thrown out. So that's one of the reasons I'm not sure. And then, you look at the AirHogs this season, right? We got off to a huge start.
They did, and then it just kind of dissipated.
It looked like, even at home, a lot of times when we're stealing bases late in games, they're just going as fielders in difference because we're down.
No one's going to risk the air on the throw.
So at that point, it makes it tough. I don't know, Zach. I think I could see a scenario where stolen bases is the next thing to fall in this league. But I can also see the other side of things where people don't run the same way they used to.
I think it's a combination of that and just the fact that the stolen base number is so high. If it were lower, if it were like in the 30s or 40s, I probably understand. But
60 in a season.
You're talking about one every other game.
Yeah,
I mean, a little bit more technically. That's a lot. That is a lot to do in a 100-game season. But yeah, I think it's more likely to see RBI. Like
I think 100 RBI is a great one. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised Barnum didn't get it. With 31 bombs. That's crazy to think.
What's crazy, too, is that he had 31, and then Victor Roche, their first base left fielder, was like right behind them with like 26 or 7. I mean, they were launching bombs out there in Chicago this year. That ballpark is favorable for those two guys, and
that North Division is going to be quite competitive.
I'm interested to see how that goes on. You have to think Victor Roche and Keenan Barnum are going to be returning guys, so they have a very good chance at repeating. They might even be some of the guys that try to push for that 100 RBI. I mean,
I could see Barnum. It's amazing to me he didn't get it with
all those bombs.
With all those bombs.
I'm with you.
A lot of solo shots essentially is what that means. But at the end of the day, I have to think that the RBI number is going to be the one that goes down. That or maybe a strikeout number for a really good pitcher. Yeah. Maybe like a 200K season, I think, would be another.
And Barnum was close. He was just 10 RBI away. Boy.
Yeah. I think either 200 strikeouts for a starting pitcher or 100 RBIs would be the big numbers I think could be broken.
Those are good picks for it.
Well, Zach, that looks like all we have here this week in Hog Heaven. Again, if you want to recommend a local high school athlete that you think should be in Hog Heaven with us, email Zach at zlee@texasairhogs.com. We are always looking for local athletes here in the community to bring on the Hogcast.
Definitely. And I mean, even if you just got a question you want answered on the Hogcast, or maybe you want to come on yourself, you think you have something interesting, a story to tell, we're always interested in doing a phone interview, maybe have you come in. Like we said earlier, we're looking just to be more involved with you in this community here in Grand Prairie.
And not just Grand Prairie, we're looking at the whole South DFW area as well. Again, reach out to zlee@texasairhogs.com if you're interested in coming on the show. As this off-season goes on, we're really upping the show quality. We're going to start getting basically an in-studio little video cast as well going.
We've been going to IKEA, getting some furniture in here, building it, doing it wrong and rebuilding it, and then
it's not putting something together. If you don't put it together wrong once, curse at yourself, take it apart, and put it back together again.
Exactly. It's a learning experience here, but yeah, we're trying to get a nice little studio setup going here. So, give us a shout out here, and maybe we can get you on the show.
That looks like it's going to do it here this week for us at AirHogs Stadium. I'm Tim Costello. He's Zach Lee, and you've been in Hog Heaven. We'll see you next week.